This episode contains discussions of addiction, emotional abuse, parental loss, domestic violence, and trauma. These topics may be distressing or triggering for some listeners. Please take care while listening and prioritize your mental health and well being. If you need support, we encourage you to reach out to a trusted professional or resource in your area.
For the haters, come on, do it now or later. Yeah. It don't matter what your name is, share your story. We'll be waiting. For the haters, whoa.
Welcome back, everyone, to For the Haters. Today, we're having a deeply personal and important conversation about resilience, loss, breaking cycles, and the complexities of family. Our guest, Ashlee, is a social service worker who has dedicated her career to supporting survivors of human trafficking, domestic violence, and motherhood-related challenges. But beyond her professional work, Ashlee has lived through some incredibly difficult experiences on her own. After losing both of her parents, her father, who was her best friend, and her mother, who has struggled with addiction, she found herself navigating grief while raising children and rebuilding her life. Despite the pain, she pushed forward, graduated as her father wished, and worked to break generational cycles. Now she's here to share her story, the realities of loss, healing, and finding strength in the unexpected places, including an unconventional but supportive co parenting relationship with her ex husband's other child's mother. This conversation is about survival, second chances, and the importance of community. Let's get into it. Ashlee, welcome to For the Haters. I am so excited to have you here and, learn a little bit more about yourself. If you could just start out by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your childhood.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for having me on For the Haters, Becky. I'm a longtime fan, so I'm very excited to be able to tell my story, especially with you. So my name is Ashlee. I'm 35 years old. I grew up in London, Ontario, which is where I still reside. So I'm from Canada. And I don't say A or any of those things that people think we do. I have a one biological sister who is 14 months older than me, and I have a half brother and half sister that my dad had before he got with my mom. And he actually had a vasectomy, and so he had to get that
Reversed.
reversed, yeah,
Mhm.
in order to have my sister. And I don't think they meant to have me because we were 14 months apart, so basically Irish twins.
Yeah.
So we didn't really grow up around my other siblings. Like my dad wasn't really too involved with them. I know there was like addiction and a lot of substance use and stuff in his past. He
Mhm.
had quite a temper. He was a biker as well, which I don't want to put a bad state, like I'm a biker too, but he just kind of ran with a tough crowd. And so I think he was trying to start over with me and my sister, with my mom. And so at first, our childhood was pretty typical, pretty normal. Like we had a nice house, like white picket fence, all of that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And then I'm not exactly, it's hard to remember, like both my parents are not here anymore. So they've both passed away. So it's really hard to kind of think back and know exactly what happened. But as long as I can remember, my mom had addiction, lived with addiction.
Mhm.
Uh, and I've actually kind of just come to that realization that the good times, even when we were like really young, like our really good family memories, she was still on pills. It's
Mhm.
just because it got worse when we were older, when it turned to crack and coke. But when we were younger, it was like oxys and perks. And so a lot of my childhood memories are of her nodding off and other people in my family, not my dad, but like aunts and cousins and things like that, nodding off, like finding them in the bathroom, like like you, but it was so normal that it wasn't really traumatizing, which is it sounds so odd, but like that was the good those were the good times.
Because you didn't know any different, right?
I
That's
just
yeah.
started realizing, and I've worked with people, like I honestly, me and my sister were just talking about how like those good times were good, but there was still so much messed up about it. There was so
Hmm.
much, my parents fought all the time. They would break up, get back together, break up, get back together. So we never felt stable. Um, I don't think anybody really knew the issues that were happening in the home. My dad was a binge alcoholic. I love him to death, but he had a binge problem, and when he would get like that, he would get very angry. And I know that that's like a trauma response. Like I know that it's because he didn't have the tools to work through all of that. So he would drink and get angry, and he'd come home and just smash up the whole house. And
Yeah.
it was like on eggshells, like you're living on eggshells all the time. And so when I was younger, I was actually pretty afraid of my dad, which is odd because as I got older, he like became like my best friend. But when I was younger, terrified me just because he
I,
had that look.
I don't know if I find that odd just because of it with like I've gotten older and I think I've realized that some people just aren't meant to be parents and I'm sure with age you became mature and so you became more of a friend than you did a daughter maybe. And so that relationship was easier for him to have than it was to try to be a father figure to you like when you were younger.
Yeah, and I honestly think I think I reminded him of himself. And I've
Mm.
always been kind of, I want to say like weird. Like I have
Unique.
a unique, like I have a big personality. I love it. I now I love it. But when I can't not be myself, which is a good thing. But when I was younger, I think it embarrassed him because I was always
Mm.
that weird kid. Like I was always, and I think he just was kind of like, be normal. Like, especially in public, it was always the worst thing you can do is embarrass him. And I
Mhm.
think I embarrassed him a lot just because of how I was. So that relationship didn't really grow until I became older. And that's around high school. My mom and my dad finally actually split up, like for good. My mom was kind of going down a steeper hill. Her dad passed away, and she was very close with him. And I think that's what triggered her to go hard with her substance use.
Mhm.
I think it was like she didn't have the tools, the education, the knowledge, the support to know how to handle those feelings. And we were getting older. Me and my sister were tweens, like we were 11, 12, we are starting to be more independent. And I think for her, that felt like we didn't need her. So she kind of, and then my dad, like her and my dad didn't work out. So I think she was kind of like, this is my time, maybe, and then she would go out and party. And I think one thing led to another. And then she became like heavily
Mhm.
addicted. Um, and yeah, she became homeless, and, that she passed away when I was 21 or 22. And before that happened, my dad kind of swooped in and made me move in with him. So that's kind of like my childhood in a nutshell.
Mhm.
I've lived in, good neighborhoods, and I've lived in very, very bad neighborhoods. Um, I feel like my experiences is kind of all over the map.
Yeah. And what kind of, your dad was you speak now about your father just kind of being your best friend and how old were you when he passed away?
I was 30.
Okay. And
Yes.
how not to ask you, like how long ago was that?
So that was about 5 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, and so, in your early 20s you lose your mom. Did that make your relationship with your dad change at all?
Yeah, I would say it definitely. I was a huge enabler. Like I was queen enabler. I did not have any education on how, or knowledge or support on how to navigate that. So
Hmm.
I wanted to save her every step of the way. I would give her money, which is like the number one thing you really shouldn't do.
Yeah.
I would save her any way I could. I would, very much not hold her accountable, whereas my sister did the opposite. And I kind of
Hmm.
undid what my sister was doing, which, we've both have learned that no matter what road you go, you, you always are going to look back and be like, crap, I wish I would like you can't you don't know how to go about it. Like
You're
nobody
always
has
going to
a book.
question your choices.
Yeah, and we it shows that so clearly with her and I because she took one route and I took another route. And we
Hmm.
both still are kind of like, you know, that sucks. Um, so my relationship definitely, I think, changed because I could see. I finally was like, oh, where she passed away, she had told me she would never go back to.
Hmm.
And that's where she died. So she clearly went back there. I seen her 2 weeks before. She promised me she would. That guy, he was a really creepy guy. I'm pretty sure he was trafficking her. Um, and I met him, and I have never felt more evil. Like I am an empath. I can really sense like people's energy, and I have
Hmm.
never felt so much evil than I did with that guy. So when I found out she died there and he was the last person to see her and it was a suspicious death, um, it it just all kind of I saw how sick she was, whereas before
Yeah.
I didn't. And my dad really didn't press me to see it. Like he let me kind of come to that on my own, which I really respect and think would have been hard because she screwed him over immensely.
Yeah.
Um, so it's yeah.
And it being, you mentioned it kind of being like a suspicious death. It also that puts you at a different place and to grieve too, right? Because you don't have answers, you don't know what happened, you can't, you don't. There's such an unknown. So how do you grieve without answers that you wish you would have questions for? And it's
Yeah.
been so long too, right? It's been, this was 13 years ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's been and we actually just so my dad, we never wanted to press our family into getting, the documents or looking too
Mhm.
far into it because it was so my her mom was still alive, my grandma.
Yeah.
She had one sister who passed away who overdosed as well.
Mhm.
The year I was born. So like it has plagued our family. So we really didn't push. And then actually this year, a couple like this month, I realized my dad was her POA. I'm his POA, which makes me
Mhm.
her POA. So I got that information. I got all the documents from the coroner investigation and from the city, and I did get closure. It was suspicious because of the circumstances, but then when you look at the evidence, it wasn't. He didn't do it. Like she definitely had enough in her system that
Yeah.
she overdosed. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And with that sudden loss and with just even what you went through with what shaped your childhood, how do you feel like that's changed your outlook on family, on your outlook on motherhood, and how the steps you've taken in your now adult life or young adult life?
Thank you for saying young adult life, number one. It
We're the same
had
age, girl, so
yeah, so you mean our infant life?
I'm a young, yeah, I'm still a
Yeah,
child.
yeah, same. Yeah. It has affected everything. It is the like I don't want to say it's defined my whole life, but it's rooted in everything I do. Um,
Mhm.
I am very aware of I can never know exactly why things went the way they went, but I can see from a certain, viewpoint how and why it did. And
Mhm.
I think a lot of that had to do with like lack of resources, lack of knowledge, back when my parents were younger. I think having any emotion especially as a man was looked at as a weakness. I think that, you know, my mom was raised in a family that drank. With everything they did, they drank, they shared pills. It was very normal to nod off.
Hmm.
It wasn't, nobody was held accountable. So as a mother, as a daughter, as a woman, as a friend, as a parent, I really think about my impact on people. And
Hmm.
I really think about the intentions of what I'm doing. And if I don't know, I try to figure it out. Like I try to educate myself. When it comes to parenting, I've taken, the things I love about my mom, the things I loved about my dad, and I keep those. It's like a puzzle. And then the ones that didn't fit, I throw them out because I don't need them. I see what they did. I don't want them. I
Yeah.
have friends that I grew up with that their moms like helped raise me. They obviously saw what was happening in a way. And I take things from them and I incorporate it into my raising of my kids because I like that. Like, I loved that. I'm
Yeah, that's really beautiful.
going to use that. So that's kind
Yeah.
of where I am when it comes to parenting. I think my parents were humans. They were doing it for the first time and I try to parent my kids like that. Like I'll say, this is my first day being a human today. Like, I have never lived this day. So I'm sorry. Like if I did something or if we had a rough day and I didn't handle that right, then I'm sorry, and
Yeah.
what can I do differently? And like what could you do differently? And I talk to them as if they're people, not like things that I own or things that have to just like blindly do what I say because I
Yeah, of
don't
course.
know the answer to everything.
Yeah.
I really don't.
You might not say A, but you definitely say sorry. And so that's like a giveaway that you're Canadian.
Really?
Yeah. Um that just threw me off track. I was like
That's so funny. I would never even think I have any type of accent, but now.
Oh yeah, you do. But it's really beautiful for me and not just with you and hearing your story, but I'm so privileged to be able to hear so many stories, right? Like I meet a lot of people and I hear a lot of people lived experiences, how they got through things. And one common thread that I have recently been seeing is those people with a lot of trauma from their parents and their upbringing. One of the common themes is a lot of forgiveness. And so for you to be able to continue on and live this life in such a light, that comes with a lot of self reflection and a lot of forgiveness that you give to people that might not deserve it or might not have asked for it or might not have apologized for the things that they did. So I always think it's really something cool to see, and you should be really proud of yourself to allow yourself to forgive those kind of parts of you, and like you said, throw them out because they're not beneficial to this life that you're building.
Well, thank you for saying that. You know what? I love that you said that. I hope you're proud of yourself. I always try to say that instead of I'm proud
Yeah,
of you because it's like, who cares if I'm proud of it? It's like if you're like you need to be proud of yourself. And
for
I
sure.
love that you said that. I've always actually thought about, anger and like hate even like towards like somebody that did you wrong. It's like
Mhm.
drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like
Yeah,
it's like I'm the one owning that hate. I'm the one that's
carrying
feeling,
it.
yeah, it's weight is
Mhm.
on me and
Yeah.
that's not doing anything for me in my life. And so it doesn't do anything for me. It does a lot for me to just let it go and be like that person's human. I hope they learn from that. I hope they never do that again. I know I'm not going to do that. And that's
Mhm.
kind of what I tell my kids too. Like when there's a bully or they'll be like, "Well, I want to do that back." And it's like, "But you don't want to be that kind of person. Think about how that
Yeah.
made you feel. Like you don't want to go around in the world and be that kind of person. Like that's you should walk around like as if everything you say is written on your face. And are you proud of
Mhm.
that? Because you need to be proud of yourself."
Yeah, what a great lesson. Can you tell me a little bit more about your kids? How old were you when you had them? How many kids do you have?
I have two kids that are 18 months apart. They
Mm.
are 9 and 10 now. I also have my stepdaughter, and she is 16. I got with her dad, which is my kid's dad too, when she was 3 months old. So,
Wow.
yeah, I've been, I didn't give her the gift of life, but she definitely has given me, a gift being in my life.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was about 24 and 25 when I had
Mhm.
my kids.
So
Um,
not long after your mom passed.
no, actually, so my grandma passed almost a year after my mom. And
Mhm.
then right a couple months later, I found out I was pregnant on Valentine's Day, and it was my grandma passed away like shortly before that. So it was very it was a lot. It was really sad because it's generations, right? Like I see
Yeah.
people, at the nail salon and it's like it's a grandma, a mom, and a daughter. I always take a picture of them. I'm always like, I'm sorry not to, and I don't like throw my sad traumatic story on them. I just say like, you're gonna cherish this. This is like a treasure, and like I hope you guys have, the most fun because you guys are fabulous. But that is like a dream for me, and that is
Yeah.
such a normal for some people, not for everyone, but yeah, that is something that I wish I could have had and I would have treasured and cherished. And my kids know too that grandparents are gifts and they're treasures, and they always say that like elderly people are treasures because they have
Mhm.
all the secrets. They have, like they know. They are like just a hidden gem that some people don't realize until they're older. And I've just had life happen to me a lot where I think I see things a little bit differently. I see the big picture. And with that being said, it's like yeah, my
Yeah.
grandparents are amazing.
Looking back, do you feel like you were even given with all of the heavy things that were happening, your mom passing away, your grandmother passing away, do you think that you were given the proper space to grieve, or do you think that you just feel like you had to kind of push through because you did bring in kids so quickly after?
Oh yeah, I think it took me way longer. I think I didn't grieve my mom properly till my dad died, which is I don't know why. I think I didn't really just let myself. There were times like when I had my kids, like my daughter, my first was my daughter, and
Mhm.
I would look at her and I would be rocking her and I love her so much and I'd feel like very angry. Not at her, at my mom. Like I would just
Yeah.
feel, and so I didn't really get to push through the cycle of grief. I just kept going between, I think, anger and sadness, and I never really like dealt with it. Like I never was like,
Yeah,
accept
it's
it.
hard. I've heard that before, right? Um, where there are people who have experienced neglect and pain and abuse from their parent when they finally have a child and they love and care for them so much, it makes them angry because it's like they look at them and they're like, how could you ever hurt someone like this, like thinking of yourself as that child, like how can you hate them so much, how can you do the things? So I can understand how like that was your cycle of thinking then, was because you were filled with so much love that you couldn't understand like the actions that had come for you.
Yeah, it definitely is a roller coaster ride.
Mhm.
Being a mom in general is, but also, yeah, looking at your kid and being like my mom would, she loved me. I know she did. Like it wasn't one of those things where, like, I know there's some people and their moms were just cruel. It wasn't like that, but
Mhm.
she would say the right things, but her actions obviously showed different. And that that is really confusing when my daughter's the same age now that I was when she really like she lost her dad when she was in her 30s. She still had
Mhm.
her mom. She still had, like and I'm not comparison is the devil. I'm not doing that, but it is kind of difficult that it feels like she just kind of gave up. And
Mhm.
I didn't have my mom or my dad. like she was 35, 36, like, and that doesn't make it better. It was still hard, but I just feel like I've kind of been left alone in this world, and I don't get to just numb it, you know? And
Yeah.
I know it's not as simple as that, but it's just, when it comes down to like just raw feelings without like thinking too much into it, I think that's where I get a little you left me in this world. She could have maybe still been here, and I would have
Mhm.
maybe had somebody to lean on, but now I'm my backup plan. Like, it's like I have
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
and that's it, and my kids have me and that's it, and that's scary.
Yeah. How do you think, what was the actions and what was the choice that you made to, because it's easy to fall into addiction when that's what you've known your entire life, right? Like when you're surrounded by it, when you're raised by it, you said that people nodding off around you was normal. How do you choose to not go down that same path?
I think it's seen like it wasn't just my mom who, passed away from an overdose. That is the main reason people in my family have passed away. So
Mhm.
cousins, yeah, and it's cousins, aunts, uncles, like all those types of people in my family. And there's still people in my family struggling with addiction. And
Yeah.
I think I know how that's unfortunate. I hope it doesn't, but how that's going to end. Um, so I think when you grow up with that around you, you kind of know you have like two roads. And
Yeah.
it's not as easy as that. It's a disease, and I know that, but like I just like I just have never tried I've never tried cocaine. I've never tried anything knowing that I have that gene.
Yeah.
I know that I have an addictive personality. I love Coca-Cola, like I love it. I'm obsessed. And it's like if I can be that addicted to that, I think there's a problem. So I've just never tried it because I know, and I give my mom grace in the way that if I did that, I probably would be in the same place she was.
Yeah.
So it's just not worth it to me. Like I don't need that, and I just got to deal with
Yeah,
it.
that takes so much strength though, right? Like that takes so much strength to make that choice to not try something that I'm sure you're around your entire life. Like even
I'm the
like
odd one
friends
out.
and
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, like that just takes so much strength to make that choice that like it's very like impressive and just like to just see that's even possible.
Yeah, and it is like a weird thing because it's one of those things where I've kind of like been made fun of for it, like in groups before,
Yeah.
or like people think I'm like they'll get all paranoid
A
about me,
prude,
and
right? Like you're
yeah,
like,
and they'll be
"Oh,
like,
like
"Ugh,"
yeah."
and I'm just like, oh my God, I like you do you. That is,
Yeah.
I'm not going to partake, and if this
Mhm.
is all that's happening, I'm going to leave. But I'm not judging. Like if that is, I don't look at other people and go like, oh my God, it's like that. You haven't lived the life that I've lived. I also know that I am not someone who can casually do stuff.
Yeah.
I'll
It's
get
like
from
I'm
0
not
to
I'm not
100.
leaving because you're doing it. I'm leaving because I don't wanna do it, because
Yeah.
I don't wanna put myself in the place to have the opportunity to.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so it's just always been one of those things where it's like, yeah, somebody who grows up like that, they either go, it seems, at least to me, that it's like one way or the other.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to, continue the conversation and maybe learn a little bit about where your journey into social work kind of started. Like, how did that come about and what led you down that path?
Yeah, so I actually went to school for child and youth worker first, for about a year. It was around when my mom passed away, so I don't think I was in the right headspace. So I did that for a year, dropped out, did like administrative stuff for a couple years, and then once me and my ex, like my kid's dad, once we broke up, I was kind of just like, okay, I'm gonna do like literally everything I've
Mhm.
ever wanted to do. Like I got my motorcycle license. I dyed my hair bleach blonde. Like I just went buck wild, but like responsibly. So then, like mom mode. But
Yeah.
I I just was like I've always wanted to do that. Like I always wanted to help my mom, and it maybe wasn't in the proper way, like because I didn't have the knowledge or any of that, but I've always kind of had this like empathy and nurturing vibe, like even with my friends. So I was like, yeah, I want to like, at first I was like, I want to help people like my mom. And then once I actually went to school for it, it was really intense. And I was like, okay, I actually don't think I want to work in addiction, like with like unhoused people and in addiction, because I think that's actually harmful. I think I have another agenda, and that's not
Mhm.
right, right? So I did a lot of like introspect like work and like looked inside of
Yeah.
myself, and I was like, what is my intention here? I'm trying to like save my mom through like that is what it feels like I'm trying to do. And
Mhm.
that's not cool. That's not right. That's not what I should be doing. So then I realized like a niche area in like social services for single parents. And I was like a single parent myself and trying to go through school, and they're like, it's all like broadcasted like get an education, do like all these things, but then we're not going to help you. We're not going to like there's no equitability in this. Like you have to
Mhm.
be exactly like everybody else, even though you have two kids and my kids were 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Like it was just so ridiculous that I was like, what is so I got asked to be in this peer support group where like we would do peer support, and you have to be asked and like referred by your prof. So soft flex there that I got that. And I did that, and once I got there I pitched it, like when she was like talking to me and just making sure I was a good fit. I said like, you know what, I've noticed this, and there's like a gap here. And so I said I really want to do like a parent peer support group for people that go to college. Like I just think that's needed. We need to figure out like we need to share resources. We need to, there's a lot of things that people don't know. And so she approved it. So I got to author my first group
Oh,
while
wow.
I wasn't even graduated yet. So I was really proud of that. And it was still there even like a year after I left. And that's where I kind of found my love for like parenting and like
Mhm.
and motherhood and single parents too. Like even dads. Like there was a dad parent group as well that kind of branched off of mine. And it's I love it. I'm passionate about it. I want to help people. I want to be who could have been there for me.
Mhm.
Like I really navigated some things alone, and there was, nobody to help me with a lot of different things. And I always wanted to kind of be that hand to hold through those types of things. That makes my life, I mean, it makes my heart happy.
Yeah, of course. What does that look like for you now? Are you still involved in any kind of support groups or
So now I was working as a peer support worker at an organization in London, and it was called Helping Other Parents Excel. And so that
Mhm.
was working with parents of kids that are experiencing mental health and helping them like go to schools and advocate, helping them go to like doctors visits. Like a lot of school avoidance was like the main thing, but just kind of being the unbiased, like not judgmental person they could talk to, because a lot of them couldn't talk to their friends because
Mhm.
they would mom shame. That's just our friends even do it. They don't mean to maybe, but like oh, your kid does that, my kid doesn't do that. And then you're kind of like, oh well, like no, just kidding. And so they would come to me and kind of talk about those sorts of things. From there, I'm now working for, it's called Telemental Health, and it's through Vanier, which is the same organization. And I work with psychiatrists and get kids from like rural areas and, well, kids and their parents from rural areas. And we just expanded to urban as well, in touch with psychiatrists so that they can get like diagnoses and
And the
kind of like
medicine and
plans.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm kind of the in between for that, and lead agency, which is it's kind of all the core agencies in London for mental
Mhm.
health for children. So that's what I'm doing now. It's like really this program really impacts the community and like takes the wait times from 2 years to like 2 months. So
Wow. Yeah, it feels like you're still currently using your own life experiences in the way in which you approach work. You went from hoping to help someone like your mom to I feel like hoping to help the younger you.
yeah.
So like
Yeah, basically, I was like, "Oh, okay, well, this one seems a little bit more doable because I helped myself." With my
Yeah.
mom, it wasn't so, and it is, that has been my whole kind of path. Even when I worked in the shelter, like it was, I just happened to get that job, and I created a group there as well for moms and for
Mhm.
single moms because they were victims of either domestic violence or human trafficking. So I created that group and I made it so that it was in community so that they could kind of link up with moms in the community and, that don't necessarily know they're in the shelter and have,
Mhm.
you know, influences that are positive, that don't know what's going, because sometimes that
Yeah,
puts a damper because people have
for sure.
scenario, like, these ideas of why they're there and what they did. And so that was really fulfilling work also.
Yeah. So, I know before we started this conversation, you spoke to me just about some past relationships that you had been in. And, outside of addiction, I know that you kind of were able to stay away from that, but you were in an abusive relationship yourself. And what was that like, right? Like when was that turning point? How long were you there till you realized, wow, like I'm might be becoming my mother as well here.
Yeah. um I was in that relationship for a really long time, and
Mm,
I didn't know, even when I left, I did not actually realize how bad it was. Even though I
mhm,
had had friends telling me, like I had had friends that stepped away, and at the time, it made me mad, but now I look and I'm like, those are some of my best friends. Like they were not mean about it. They just said, I can't watch this. Like I can't watch this happening. And,
mhm.
you shouldn't be treated like that. And all of those things. And so I think I had like inklings. Like I was sort of like, oh, but he loves me and like I love him. And we had that very like up and down relationship, like, that like toxic when you're younger. And even I guess some people our age still think that that's what love is, where it's like high highs, low lows.
Yeah.
There's one thing that's always really good in those relationships,
Mm,
and that's when you feel connected, and that's
mhm.
when the person might be sweet to you, or like after or before, or
Yeah.
whatever. So I think that I thought we were in this little world together. That's the best way I can explain it. Like nobody understood us except
Mhm.
for him and I. Like we were very much like that song Rihanna, like Love the Way You Lie.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. Like,
My anthem.
bam. Like I
Yeah.
was like, and one part of it says like, no matter how many knives we put in each other's back, we still have each other's back because we're that lucky or something. I
Mhm.
probably made that like a Facebook status. Like I'm not gonna lie, I probably low key did. And that's a messed up thing to think is romantic. But I did.
Yeah.
I really did. And I think he did
Y
too.
yeah.
And I honestly, it took until the reason why I ended out leaving was because I had kids.
Mhm.
And I think even after he realized how he was being, he wasn't happy. And that doesn't make it okay. But I think that we were young when we got together. We didn't have the tools. And there was a lot of stuff he had to work through, a lot of stuff I had to work through. And
Mhm.
I allowed a lot of things to happen because thought that's what love was. I just had no idea. Like even my dad, he was very he used women. Like which is bizarre because he'd be like, "Respect yourself," but then he had women in and out. Like he treated women like disposable items. Like my mom really crushed him, I think, and then after that, he never recovered. And it was just it's a bizarre thing to experience, have somebody preaching to you, but then they treat people like that, so you feel like that is love. Um, and how I ended out actually being like, I didn't really know how bad it was, but I had my stepdaughter, and she remembers this, so I don't feel bad talking about it. We've talked about it. We were having dinner at their grandma's place, so his mom's, and he just did like some really cruel things like in front of them, but I didn't think they noticed. Like I didn't think she was like 7, 6 or 7. Like I was kind of like he was just being really mean and like cruel with his words, but I didn't, I kind of just like carried on. And then my my stepdaughter, she said like, "Daddy, stop being so mean to Ashley. Why are you being so mean to her? Like stop it." Like she was so upset. And his mom too, who he's a bit of a like mommy's boy. I could tell she was also like, "Stop." Like it was just blatantly like he hated me. Like it was, and that wasn't like the first time he'd done something like that. And the fact that I saw on her face what I saw on her face, I was like, and my kids were so little. My son wasn't even 1 yet. My daughter had just turned 2. So I was kind of like, I was like, this is not it. Like, this isn't working. So when we got home that night, I said to him, like, what is going on? Like, you are not treating me nice. Like, and at this point, I was like a shell of myself. Like, I was just not who I am at all now. Like, I was whatever he wanted me to be. If me and him got in a fight and I was at work, I would come home, I would like leave work, come home, and I'd be like puking. I'd lose all this weight, and he would lie to me and then tell me that he was lying to me because I couldn't take it. Like using that I would be so upset against me, and I'd believe him. I'd be like, "Oh, you're right. Like I am. Like I'm being so like I'm so dramatic and I'm so upset." And it was like it was just I don't even know who that person was, but that's where I was like, my kids are not gonna see this. They are not gonna like I'm not doing what my parents did. And that night I asked to see his phone because I was like, there's some weird stuff, and he wouldn't give it to me. And then I was like, all right. And I found out some other things. I said, you need to go get some help with these things. I will support you if you go get the help. But if you leave, you're not coming back. And he left. So he tried to come back a couple times after that, but I said no because like I couldn't do the back and forth. That builds like I have panic disorder. That it stems a lot from that, but also from the other stuff that has happened in my life. But that feeling of I don't know what's happening. Like I don't know, are like mom and dad good? Are they not? Yeah, just like I always felt unsafe. So I wouldn't do that to them, even though I don't think I have ever loved somebody as much as I loved him. And unfortunately, it's like I'm so glad that the way things turned out, but it's just it's not worth it. Like, and I know I made the right decision, and now I can understand like when the women would come into the shelter and they'd be like, "But I love him," or like, "I'm so stupid. I've left him before. We've broken up a million times and we always get back together." And it's like, yeah, yeah, most people leave like 7 times is the average. So you're like literally on the like you're normal, my friend. And you're actually the strongest you've ever been in this moment. Like you're not weak. And yeah, so I think I hate saying everything happens for a reason because like I know people hate that, but I do think we learn. And like some things they suck, but they happen, so you got to learn from
Yeah,
them.
learn from it.
Yeah.
I say this almost every single time that there's a conversation just around toxic relationships and the repeated feelings and those highs and the lows that you speak about. And it is that there is there's a sense of boring and healthy for people that are just so used to toxic, and often they think of boring as not interested, but in reality like their love is fueled by such toxic behaviors that it's really hard for someone to get out of a toxic relationship and find love that is actual, like, safety and healthy because of those highs and lows that you just don't reach, right? Like you don't feel those highs and lows in healthy relationships.
Yeah.
Uh, and so people that are used to that toxic nature just kind of get
Thrive
back.
off of it.
Yeah.
And when you're raised to have comfort in chaos, you will continue to find comfort in
Mhm.
chaos until you learn, because it's a skill, to be okay with peace. Like it is a skill. And I used to say that to the women in the shelter. Like they'd always want to be busy. They'd always want to, and I'd be like, you know what skill you need to exercise right now? Just chilling.
Boredom. Yeah,
Just chill.
boredom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like literally sit with yourself. Like, you got it. You are stuck with you
Yeah.
forever. So like you got to be okay with hanging out by yourself. Like, and it has taken me, I say that, and I was not able to do that until I would say the last 3 years.
Mhm.
And I honestly, it was I don't remember who it was, but they said, you know, being at peace is a skill. Relaxing is a skill, just like any other skill. So if
Mhm.
you can learn it, like practice it, like as if like chess or something, like just like tonight I'm gonna color and I'm gonna like just like anything else, and you do that enough times, it becomes a habit, and then you're like you learn how to like quiet the noise that you might have if you've had a traumatic, everybody has had trauma.
Something.
So like,
Yeah.
yeah, so like learning, and you have to deal with it at some point. You
Mhm.
have to. You're gonna be forced to. If you don't do it intentionally, you're gonna snap. Like
Yeah.
it just is what happens. It happened to me, and it like honestly it made me be like, okay, wow, there's a lot more like I was the strong one. I was my dad's POA. I'm the youngest.
Mhm.
I was his POA. Like there's just been things in my life where people are like, Ashley can handle it because I seem like I can, and I thought I could until I couldn't, and then I was like, wow, I
Yeah.
am
It's a
not
lot.
good. Yeah, I am not
Yeah.
okay. Like I don't know. So I think yes, exactly. Comforting chaos, recognizing that you have that, and then being intentional about learning to be with yourself and liking yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what do you feel like some of those conscious choices, right? Like, cause these are all conscious decisions and choices that you're making to get out of that kind of cycle and to break that cycle for yourself. What do you do actively and consciously to make sure that you're changing that for your kids, right? Like, are there certain acts or services that you do for your children that you are doing for that purpose?
Yeah, so I've gotten like a lot of those journals off of Amazon. I don't know if you've
Mhm.
seen this before, where it's like you give it to your kids and it's like mom to daughter, daughter to mom, and
No, I
then
haven't.
oh my God, it's
I'll
probably
probably
one of
cry.
oh I cry. I cry. And then there's actually one like you could get now. I don't know anybody like their situation, but
Yeah.
like with your mom as an adult, it's like tell
Yeah.
me your story, and then they
Mhm.
write. It's beautiful. I would do that if I could. And I get there's one for if you have a son, there's one for if you have a daughter. So I've got
Mhm.
those for both my kids, and we pass it back and forth because sometimes there's things that feels weird to talk about, or like it's like a hard thing to bring up, as
Mhm.
we can try our best to make it an open understanding like relationship, but sometimes there's just things that we don't even want to say out loud to ourselves, so like how can we expect. So that's something that I've implemented is those journals, and we pass them back and forth, and it kind of like opens conversations. We do them together sometimes,
Awesome.
um, and that I think has really helped like I want to get to know them as people,
Mhm.
and I think individually. I think that's something my parents did not do. Me and my sister were so close in age. It was like, you get purple, you get blue. Same thing. It was like that. None of this is geared towards the things that I like. Or, it was just very much so
Choices being made for you.
yeah, and in a
Mhm.
different color for than what my sister had. And I was
Yeah.
like, I thought in my head as a kid, I'm not going to do that. So I haven't.
Yeah.
And then other intentional things I do is spending one-on-one time, with them, asking them about the things that they like. I ask them about their friends. I try to color with them. I try to model talking to myself the way I want them to talk to themselves. Like, because we are their inner voice. Like at the end of the
Mhm.
day, that's where they get it from, right? And so I try to be really intentional with how I treat people. Like even at Tim Hortons. I guess you guys don't have Tim Hortons, but like so I go to Tim Hortons every morning, and sometimes there's people there that are very grumpy, or they like the people working there sometimes can not be so kind, and it's probably because they're having a rough day, whatever. And so instead of like losing my mind, like some people do or whatever, I'll just say, because like my kids will even be like, well, that was rude or whatever. And I'll be like, you know what, though, if they're that upset about whatever that is, they must be having a really hard day.
Hmm.
Because that wasn't a big deal, you're right. And that was like an overreaction. That's like a bit wild of them. But they must be so elevated. Like something we don't know that they
Hmm.
reacted like that. Like that's not a baseline reaction. So, like let's give a little grace. That's not gonna we can choose that to affect our day. Or we can
Hmm.
be like, oh, that's unfortunate. Like that's, I hope they have a better day and move on. We don't have to like hold that in all day and be like, that person at Tim Hortons was so rude. And it's like, no, let it go.
Yeah.
Don't drink the poison.
Yeah, I always love hearing too. Obviously, I'm about to be a new mom. So I'd like to hear, I've already heard like different pieces of things that you've said that I've taken mental memory of to use in conversation when, my kids are old enough to have a conversation like that. So I really appreciate just the intentions that you've set for yourself into just raising good humans and just raising kids in safety, right? Like those kinds of conversations and those kinds of open and honest conversations, because you treat them as if there's like they deserve that, like they're their own people, will just lead to just better people in this world. And I think that's all we can really ask for. So that love
That's all
everything
I
that you're
want.
saying. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I honestly think that's all we want is and I can imagine you feel the same way. I don't
Hmm.
care, about what like I care, but like it's not the most important thing to me. Like sometimes my kids will swear or something and they'll be like, and it's like, and I'm like, you know what? I
What?
like there are worse things. Like,
Yeah.
you are a kind person.
Hmm.
You're not swearing at someone, whatever it is. It's like there are way worse things you could be doing than that. So, like I just want you to be kind.
Yeah.
Like kind
Yeah.
to yourself, kind to other people, like all around just kind, because then you'll be happy. And that is what then my life will
It's
be
complete.
complete. Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't mention before, but before the conversation that you have built a relationship also with your oldest daughter's biological mother, her mom, so your husband's ex or whatever that dynamic looks like.
It's complicated, yes.
Yeah. What has that co-parenting dynamic been like, and how did that relationship come about?
Honestly, her and I, you can imagine at first,
Yeah,
my
I can.
stepdaughter, yeah, was 3 months old. And honestly, I was 19. I was very naive to everything.
Mhm.
We have had many, many tearful conversations about that. Like she'll apologize because she was young too, and I did some things, all of the above, right? And so at first, yeah, it was really rough, which I get. Like I remember not even wanting to pull into her house with him to grab my stepdaughter because I thought like we're driving away with her like heart basically, like and with somebody she wanted to have a family with, and we're driving
Yeah,
away. Like that sucks. I wasn't the reason they broke up, but it was still, I could imagine how hurtful that would be.
for
And so
sure.
I did have a lot of compassion and empathy for her. And then as time went on, there were things that happened that like we would argue about, like just like stupid stuff. And we weren't close. And then we would become close. Like we become like kind of like cordial and be able to all co-parent together, and then something would happen. And but once her dad and I split, I feel that, her and I really had room to form our own, like, kind of separate relationship. And I really give
Mhm.
her kudos for the fact that she, like, let me in with open arms, even though I wasn't technically, she didn't have to.
Yeah,
And it was very volatile at first with my kid's dad. Like, it was not easy to talk to him. And so I even at one point he told me I wasn't her stepmom, even though I'd been around for like, and I knew I was in my heart, but it was like he was getting new girlfriends and so he was kind of like, you're not that person anymore. And I was like, I love her. Like I will always, maybe the label doesn't have to be that if it makes somebody like super uncomfortable, but if she wants to still call me that, which she still does to this day, and it's been almost 8 years since we broke
yeah.
up, um, then she can. So I found it a lot easier to co-parent with her mom.
Yeah.
And as that was kind of happening, we would hang out, like, because we'd want to get all the kids together, and we would like just then we became like friends outside. Like we'd hang out without the kids, and like it just it. She is one of my best friends. She is. We've gone through so much together too. Like in her life, she's lost her grandparents. She lost a brother. Like we've leaned on each other like sisters, I would say.
Hmm.
Um, it doesn't even feel like she was ever with him. Like it doesn't even feel attached to that. It feels attached to my stepdaughter, and it feels like so she has this is really complicated, and I'm sorry if this is confusing, but she has a stepdaughter with her now partner,
Hmm.
and she's been with him since her stepdaughter was 2, and they had another daughter together, her and her
Hmm.
stepdaughter's dad.
Yeah.
So our family is mixed, like very like my kids call like those other 2 siblings on that side like their
Their
sisters too.
siblings. Yeah.
Yeah, and like her stepdad comes over and hangs out with like my partner, and
Hmm.
like it's just like such a weird, awesome, unique situation. And, as the years have gone by, there's also been situations where like her dad and then like my partner and then her stepdad and her mom, like we can all now be in the same area, and it's kind of like a beautiful thing because there's been so much time and space between all of that that
Hmm.
we're able to. And when we get together, we don't talk about um
Yeah.
that. And I
And it's
think
great for the
sometimes
kid. It's great for the kids too.
it's just about the kids, and it's just
Yeah.
about we clicked. Like it just happened to be that that's who she was, and we both are in love with this beautiful girl, like we
Hmm.
both would do like she's her mom, so but like I love her with all my heart too. Like I
Hmm.
have her name like tattooed on me. Like I love her. And I would jump in front of a train for that girl. So we have like that mutual respect, mutual love, boundaries, of course, too. Like she would
Yeah.
feel free to talk to me if I was overstepping, but she invites me to everything. I was at her prom. Like even if my ex and I aren't doing well, I still get invited because she knows the place that I have. That stuff doesn't have to do with that. So
Hmm.
it's been like it's been like a really beautiful ride, I want to say, because she's 16. She's going to be, she's
Yeah.
turning into a little adult, but like, I think we've done it right.
Yeah.
Like, as right as, there's obviously hiccups, but I feel proud.
As right as they can be.
Yeah, like I feel
Yeah.
proud of it. And that's
Yeah.
what I think, because when we
Matters
have messed
most.
up, yeah, we'll be like, oh crap, like maybe that wasn't. But yeah, it's
No one has the playbook written out, so
with anything. No,
yeah.
I know. And that is like the biggest thing is like nobody knows how to navigate these weird situations. Like
Yeah.
you don't expect to be in this place. And it's like you're there and you're like, whoa, like this is, oh.
And you spoke about you have a new partner and
Mhm.
how did that relationship come about? And I would hope that it's a healthy one and with full of support and love. So I know we're running out of time a little bit, but I just
Mhm.
quickly did want to touch on that and give the opportunity to talk about him.
So my new, well, he's not really new. We've been together for a while now. He's my neighbor. So it's like a weird, my whole life is wild, but his parents were friends with my dad. So when
Hmm.
we moved in, his dad rode motorcycles and built like choppers and stuff like that. My dad also rode motorcycles, and he would try to fix it. I don't know how good he was at that, but so they would go like riding together and stuff all the time. And his sister is my age, but he's 6 years younger. So
Oh.
yeah, so I've always like he was at my wedding. He like I was over there with my kids when they were babies, like with his mom, and like
Hmm.
just because they're like family friends. I didn't really talk to him that much because he was so much younger, and like I don't know, we didn't really talk. It was more like his sister and all of that. And so once me and my ex broke up, I kind of was just, I remember I was outside one day on my porch and he would have been 22 at the time. So he's of age and I'm 28. And I was talking to my sister and we see him working on his truck. And I was like, is that, is that, his name's Mitch, is that Mitchell? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, he's really grown up. And she was like, yeah. And she was like, he's always had a crush on you. You should go for it. And I was like, no, like he has seen me pregnant twice. He has seen me get married. I was like, I am probably like a gross old lady to him at this point, right? He did used to cut my lawn though, when I was like when me and my friends would be bathing out, like when he was like really young
Sunbathing.
and we were teenagers. Yeah, he would cut the lawn and stuff for us. And but it's like literally I remember his grade 8 grad. So it was weird. It was really like it was a weird switch over, but he so I remember saying that and my sister was like, "No, go for it, whatever." And I was like, "Ugh, maybe, whatever." And then one time I went out, he was out in the garage and I went out there and because he was with my dad and I tried to like hit on him and he didn't, like he just was not picking up what I was putting down at all. Like I was kind of like, let's go for a ride on your motorcycle. Like I'm thinking of getting like my motorcycle license and blah blah blah. And he was like, yeah, well, like you could go with your dad and like, he just totally was oblivious to what I was trying to
Yeah.
do. I even wrote him and was like, "Can I borrow your motorcycle like the book that you have to read to get the to do the test or whatever?" And
Yeah.
he just sent me where you could buy it. Very oblivious. So, I was kind of like, yeah, he thinks I'm a weirdo. Like I
Yeah.
gotta calm down. And then I went out with his sister one night and we went to a bar and me and like I had been trying to talk to him. It wasn't really working out, but I had been trying. And I said like you should come, like I'm with your sister, blah blah blah. And then he came and I think I had had a couple drinks, so I was a little more
Liquid courage.
yeah, and I kind of said to him like, like I've been been trying to like I know I'm a little rusty because I was with my ex for like 9 years. So I was like, I
Yeah.
understand I might not be like, and from there on we just kind of where we got
Clicked.
together and we clicked and we liked all the same kind of things and he's a very much like he hung out with all the older biker guys, which even though he was young, like he hung out with my dad. Like it was really weird, but he's just like we really do click and he's a really
Yeah.
nice guy and he's really calm. Like he's very calm and
He's safe.
simple and safe. And it is
Yeah.
very like what you said. Like it was hard at first. Like I was kind of like, what there we are not like I would pick fights. Like I would like want to I remember one time and I'm not proud of this, but I hit him with my shoe because we were fighting. And like I just was
Yeah.
like "Bleh," and like because like in my old relationship we would like scrap a little bit.
Yeah.
And he said to me, and I remember this so vividly because I knew he meant it. He said, if you ever put your hands on me again, we're done. And he was like, I'm
Good
serious.
for
Like,
him.
do not touch me. And I was like, but yeah, and I respected him so much for it. And
Yeah.
I have a son too. And it's facts. Like, nobody should lay their
Mhm.
hands on you. And
Yeah.
so I learned a lot from him. Like, I learned a lot how to be in a respectable relationship and it was all the talk of our street though because it seemed like obviously that looked really bad because my ex lived here and he's the neighbor and but
Yeah. I think that there must be some relief for you as well that he knew your dad. I know that with your dad being so important to you in your adult life that being with someone that didn't know him might be hard for you to try to explain who he was or the relationship that you had. I know that in my relationship I feel that way of like be feeling thankful that Leah knew him before he passed away. So,
yeah, and it is a whole right like with my mom
yeah.
there's not a lot of people left that knew
Yeah.
her
Yeah.
so it is so hard because it's like trying to explain like there's it's like she sounds awful it's like yeah she was but she was also like my mom and
Yeah, she
she
was also your
was
mom, yeah.
yeah she was very very funny and like she was I when I see my one aunt on my dad's side every time I see her she's like I don't look like my mom, but like my mannerisms, I guess. Like my mom was very outgoing. She was very silly. Like she
Mhm.
was very, it was like, almost like she was too much and she didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know, that's a hard thing when when nobody's met her that I'm around anymore. So it's like, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, we are at time, and I just have a few questions left. One being, what is one thing that you hope listeners kind of take away from today's episode?
I think one of the most important things in life is to realize that you're not stuck being who you think you're supposed to be. You don't need to be in a box. You can jump out of that box. You could be that person that never ran a day in their life, and then tomorrow you decide, I'm going to run every day. And then in like 3 weeks from now, there's people sitting in their house and they're like, there's the girl that runs every day. You can be whatever you want to be. There's no rules. There's, lots of societal constructs that, you can look into what that means, but we put meaning on things. People decide to put meaning on things and then we just all agree on it and we don't have to. So I think just keeping that in mind that you are in control of your life and there are no rules.
I love it. And then if someone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way that they can contact you, whether it's an email or social media, whatever you're most comfortable with?
Actually, my sister and I have been trying to start up our little podcast for a while, and it's called Queens of Oak.
Awesome.
So I on Instagram, that's what I would look for. We're gonna start in the next. We finally got somewhere to go and stuff, so we've just like I know probably more Canadians will, but we're starting that. So yeah, reach out there. You can like DM me on there, and I'll happily
Amazing.
get back to you.
Awesome. And then my final question is, if you could tell your younger self something, what would it be?
I would say that you're going to be okay. You are safe, you are loved, and you have yourself, so you're going to be okay.
I love it. Thank you, Ashlee.
Yeah, no
And
problem.
thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. Your journey is one of resilience, strength, and finding hope in the face of unimaginable loss. Your ability to break cycles, advocate for others, and create a new path for yourself and your children is truly inspiring. To anyone listening, if you're struggling with grief, navigating trauma, or just trying to rebuild, know that healing is possible. You are not alone. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on For the Haters.
For the haters, come on, do it now or later. Yeah. It don't